Well, welcome back. This is a continuation of a little series. This is part 3 of my plumbing under the slab. This is where we're gonna dig. We already pulled our strings, we know where our drops are, we already laid out where our trunk line is gonna go, and we just have to dig. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna be able to show you or film, because once I fire this machine up, you're not gonna be able to hear me talk anymore. And this is something that takes a lot of practice. You're not just gonna jump on a tractor and do this. Some people get pretty lucky with it, but it does take several years of experience, several hours on one of these machines to really get the finer points of it. But just some of the things I want to talk about is your spoil piles. When you're digging the dirt out of the ditch, your spoil pile is that dirt that you're dumping out of your bucket. You want to watch where you put those, because once you get your open ditch dug, you're going to pull your string lines back, and you're going to make sure you're hitting those drops and those stub ups and stuff. So you don't want your string lines cutting through a dirt pile. You want to try to keep that to a minimum. The other thing is you don't want to over dig. Don't get too carried away. Start shallow, watch your elevations. Something else you should do before you start, check your sewer tap. The sewer tap that's provided by the city. Go ahead, stick a measuring tape down in there, or a level rod or something, and see how deep that thing is. You don't want to pop out below that tap, because if you do, you're gonna either have to pump it, or you're gonna have to be back out there on your slab trying to raise some things up. Remember, it's only a 1/4 inch to an 1/8 of fall on these pipes, so that's a 1/4 inch every foot, or an 1/8 of an inch every foot. You're gonna have to get your level out, and you are gonna need some shovels. You will have guys in the ditch. Keep an eye out for them. Don't run over anybody. When you're on this machine, you're responsible for the people that are around you. Pay attention to where they are and be safe about it. So let's get started. Let's talk about our mini excavator here for a little bit. First thing with any machinery, you're always gonna, before you even start, you're gonna wanna check the oil in it. You're gonna wanna check, make sure the air filter's clean. These things like to get a lot of dirt in there. You wanna squeeze that thing, pop it off, maybe beat it on the side to knock the dust and dirt out of it. Keep it clean. You're gonna wanna check, make sure you got fuel. Worst thing in the world is show up on a job site and you ain't got fuel in your tractor. So just remember that. Now, you probably can't see the controls over here, but I've got a throttle, I've got a lever that controls my bucket back there, and then of course I have my little joysticks that control the front bucket here. First thing you want to do, these things are diesel engines. They have glow plugs on them. You want to turn this thing on. Some of them have an option that says heat, and you turn that key back the other way. Little light will come on down there. Little yellow light, looks like a light bulb with a little coil thing running through it. When that goes off, your glow plugs are heated up enough. Make sure this thing is throttled all the way down before you go cranking it up. And then of course you would crank it up. Not too bad, a little shaky. And then let it warm up a little bit, and then you'll bring your throttle up. You are gonna wanna run. Let's turn it off. That thing's shaking around pretty good. You are gonna let this thing warm up, and then you're gonna throttle up a little bit. You're gonna wanna run this thing pretty much at full throttle when you're digging with it. Now, if you're just learning, you might wanna put that about half throttle, but I wouldn't run it all the way at idle. You're just putting too much strain on your pumps and stuff back there. But that's the basics of getting this thing running. Now, when you go to shut it down, these things have a turbo on them. You're gonna wanna let that turbo cool off. And how do you do that? Put yourself back at idle speed, drop all your implements to the ground, and let it sit there and idle for a minute or two, and then turn it off. There's so many times I've jumped on one of these tractors and go to crank it up, and that thing's still wide open on that throttle. That means you shut it down. Whoever the last person was, they shut it down at full throttle, and you can burn up a turbo doing that. And that goes for all heavy machinery. Always throttle that thing down, put your implements on the ground, which that's your bucket, your blade. You don't want to put extra stress on those hydraulic pistons, because you'll wear the seals out, and then it'll sit there and leak down, and that's not any fun. something I want to show you. See that blade down there? That is like a bulldozer blade, and it does serve that purpose. It'll go up and down. But when you're digging with this thing, you're going to want to let that sit all the way down on the ground. Push you up a little bit. That's your outrigger. Just like backhoes have little outriggers and cranes have little feet that come out the side. That's what that is. That's your outrigger. It'll keep you from shaking all around all over the place when you dig it. that's pretty much it. I've got my ditch dug out. At this point, I'm done with the excavator. I'm gonna throttle it down. I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna let it sit. And we're gonna reestablish those string lines. We're gonna cut some stub outs and we're gonna start laying some pipe. But we're gonna do that in the next episode.